Well, it's 7:01 p.m. Oh, all right, great. Katie's on. All right, so I would like to call the Maynard Finance Committee meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. My name is Jillian Prendergast, and I am the chair of the Finance Committee. I am trying to find, I had the Zoom script up and it disappeared. All right, here we go. So as a preliminary matter, I would like to please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Finance Committee members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Nathan?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Mikhail?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Nathaniel?
Yes.
And Linda let me know she will be absent from tonight's meeting.
And I have notes, Jillian. I'll be taken.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was going to be my follow-up question. So as an introduction to our meeting tonight, good evening. This is the open meeting of the Maynard Finance Committee meeting. It is being conducted via Zoom. Speakers on the agenda will be participating remotely, and the chair may allow for the public to provide comment. The committee would like to hear public comments, and if there is further action that is required by the committee, the chair will add the matter as appropriate to a forthcoming agenda. Depending on the comment, the committee may, if they are able within the confines of open meeting law, respond with information as to opposed to needing to deliberate on the matter. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and our participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, this meeting and also public hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast to individual attendees unless required by law. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, so please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by this recording. This meeting is being recorded and will be later posted to the YouTube WAVM channel. Thank you for your support, WAVM. So for the meeting materials, all the meeting materials for Board Docs are located on Board Docs, and we recommend that the members and the public follow the agenda as posted on Board Docs unless I note otherwise. So for meeting business ground rules, we will now turn to the agenda. But before we do, please permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, as the chair, will introduce each speaker and topic on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. And for items with public comment, since this is a public hearing, after the members have spoken, the chair may afford public comment as follows. The chair will first ask the member of the public who wishes to speak to please identify their name and address only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford them a number of minutes for their comments. Public comment for public hearings will be accepted tonight on Zoom as there is not an in-person option. So that is the remote meeting script that I have. All right. And I do see that we have some other town participants here as well. So Greg and Justine, thanks for joining. Are there any topics that you guys wanted to touch on before I launch into the public hearing?
Nope.
No. Okay. Nope. All right. Just double checking. So, so the first one of the topics on our agenda, I put a topic on our agenda before the public hearing in case there are any last minute changes to the articles. So I'm not aware that there were any or that we need to reconsider any of our votes or comments. But I will open the floor to the rest of FinCom in case I did miss anyone's concerns on these articles as we currently voted on them in our last meetings. It's sort of a formality to put that on our agenda just in case there's any late breaking hot topics. So if that's not the case, I will move on to the public hearing part. And I would like to apologize. I still have a potato of a computer, so that is why my camera is not on, because once I share my screen to show you the what we're going to be talking about, if I also have my camera on, it will die. So, so I will share the topic here. So this should be sharing. So this is the final warrant. Hopefully you can see it. If you can't see it, let me know. So there are 8 articles in the special town meeting warrant, and we will go through them all tonight. So the first article is about amending the town general fund budget. So this is something that comes along at every special town meeting. Generally, there are some updated numbers that come along that are nicely described in the sponsor's comments about the collection of the updated receipts and also a few other items from the different budgets. And this is a change in and each of the line items are detailed here. The Finance Committee did recommend to update this. This did recommend this article as it updates more accurate financial forecasting as the year develops. And it proposes to decrease the debt service to reflect an updated funding scheme for the Green Meadow School construction. So, and this is all also outlined in the sponsor's comments as well. So I will open the floor if there are any questions or discussion on this article. You can use the raise hand function on Zoom so I can know that you would wish to ask a question or to speak. I'll give it a moment. So I'm not currently seeing anyone, but members, if I do miss someone, please let me know. All right. If that's the case, I will move on to article number 2. So article number 2 is for the Community Preservation Reserve Fund appropriations. So the Finance Committee did recommend this article, and the sponsor's comments has a nice description of what the proposed acts are for this article appropriation. And the Finance Committee comments are here. So this is something that is not in our taxes per se. It's in the real estate taxes, so it's separate from the general fund, from my understanding. And this is charged, the CPA is charged with using this for projects that are appropriate for this use. So in this article, they're proposing to appropriate them towards the Historic Preservation Fund, in particular for one one project to move a watering trough. So this is a historic watering trough Memorial Park. And it would also facilitate the sale and development of the property and preserve this historic artifact. And the open space would propose to allocate the $86,000 and some dollars here, as you can see on the screen. And this would be used to improve Ice House Landing. And this would be used in part to do things like add seating, signage, and native plantings, as described in the sponsor's comments. So this is talking about these two appropriations in particular. Are there any questions or comments on article number 2? All right, I'm not seeing anyone use the raise hand function at this time. So I will move on to article number 3. So article number 3 is a debt appropriation for Maynard Public Schools Alumni Bleacher Project. And this is asking for, as described in the comments, the article itself and in the sponsor comments, to raise a certain number of money. I'll move down here. Here we go. So for funding the school bleacher project. So the comments are that the Finance Committee did recommend the article overall. There was some split voting, but our majority was to recommend. There is some limited long-term rental scenarios were considered, but it was not deemed a viable solution. Timing was considered most critical by the Finance Committee, as delaying could increase the cost of construction, as outlined in the sponsor comments. The bleachers have surpassed their useful lifespan and have failed inspections, and the town has since been renting temporary bleachers, but this is not compliant in the long term. So this proposed plan would include compliant bleachers, bathrooms, a concession stand, a press box, and other site work as outlined in the comments from the sponsor. The majority of the costs would go towards the new building, the bathrooms, and a concession stand, along with associated site work. Due to building code, the bleachers cannot be built alone. And we did also note that we are concerned about the total debt service in Maynard and the burden to the taxpayers. And we would like to recognize that there are many important potential projects to be funded in the upcoming years. This includes projects such as the Winter Street Garage, stormwater needs, the golf course, and the senior center improvements, to name a few. So the town and boards and the committees are holding regular meetings on these priorities, and the townspeople are encouraged to attend and make their voices heard. I think overall, the Finance Committee recommended to bring this to the town as a way for them to vote and voice how they would like to address this. But we do recognize that it is one of the many priorities in the town. So I will open the floor to public comment here. All right, and I see Justine, you has raised your hand.
Hi, yes, thanks, Jillian. No longer select board member, so Justine St. John, 2 Barrelani Circle. And I had a couple questions about this particular project, because I guess my question is why now as opposed to in the spring? I feel like we don't know, we haven't even gotten a bill from the Green Meadows School, an actual for the Green Meadows, what the cost is going to be for our taxes for the Green Meadows School. And so I'm not sure why there's a rush to put this on the fall town meeting when it could go on the spring town meeting, where it looks like there's going to be other issues as well. Because I just feel like you know, we've talked, and again, it's because I just got off of the board, but we've talked over the past, you know, at least 6 months about transparency and how the residents need to have an idea of what's going on, and they need to see what's coming on and what's coming to them. But yet I can't find anything anywhere that this was actually talked about. You know, it's not even on the town Facebook page. It's not on news and notices. It's not on the school's Facebook page. So legitimately, the only people who know about this are the 100 or so people that are actually paying attention. And my concern is that it's going to pass. And then in the spring, you're going to have, again, something else come up. So you're not going to have the benefit of looking at all of it holistically. You're going to have to pick and choose. And I think I'm just curious what the Finance Committee's thoughts were on that.
Sure. Thanks for those comments. If you haven't yet seen them, I did post also on Board Docs, and I can screen share it as well, updated estimates on tax impacts for the Green Meadow School. If that's of interest to you, I can bring that up on the screen currently as we address some of the other questions.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. So I will share. Peter,
Sorry,
yeah,
Jillian.
you want to go ahead?
Just to be clear, and Greg, can you weigh in on this? Because I saw that this went out. This is not the full impact of the Green Meadow School, correct? This is less than half of the impact of the Green Meadow School, and more like maybe a third, right?
Right. I mean, the overall bonding, I don't remember how many tens of millions of dollars I don't want to misspeak. I don't want to mislead about what the amount.
It's someplace between 40 and 50 million.
Sure. And so you take out sort of tranches worth of bonding according to the size of
right. So I just don't want people to misunderstand that this is the impact of the school. I thought the email could have had more context, that this is a small portion of the bonding that we have to do for Green Meadow. So I just want to be clear about that as we're putting it out.
Yeah, I think it's important that you're clear about that, because I did not pick up on that from the email. So that is something good to point out.
So yeah, the school's not going to cost $247 per taxpayer.
It's going to cost more.
Yeah, I think we ballparked it at $600 to $700 per taxpayer when it's fully done. So. So
I'm just trying to understand it. So, and again, I haven't been paying attention for the last month or so, but so it's going to be like the 247.49 from what I can see. That's to start. And then as we go further into the project, it's going to cost more.
Yes, we'll bond more to cover more of the expense. I mean, we haven't incurred all the expense yet.
That's right. And so, but it's not clear to me about the timing, like the pace that we take out more tranches worth of bonds. I don't know if it's every year you take out another $16 million or so up to the $40 to $50 million. I don't know. Or maybe it's offset by a number of years. I don't know.
I mean, I would assume that, you know, whoever is building the school would want to be paid in full when the school's done. So we probably have to bond for everything within the next few years, correct?
Well, I mean, paying for the bonds is a little different from taking out the bonds. It's we sort of follow the bond council advice, and that's a lot of market driven. So I couldn't say, again, like I can't speak to the timing of it, but I will find out.
Okay. So basically we really don't have a handle on how much money it's going to cost. And then, you know, and I understand that this is something I need to take up with the school committee, but their sponsors' comments with transparency, it says, in addition to this capital project, MPS is projecting an operating budget shortfall impacting FY26. So it sounds like from that, it looks like they want something, but they haven't said what, and they haven't even promoted this part on their website to tell anybody that that's what they're asking for. So again, I go back to the fact that nobody knows this is coming.
So I would say that as the finance committee, we can only vote on and recommend what's in front of us. So it's not really our role to put forth articles. It's our role to sort of act as information for the town voters. So I cannot speak to why this is coming on this special town meeting. In terms of timing, that would be a good question for the school committee.
Was there any discussion with amongst the school, amongst the FinCom to push this to the spring? I mean, I understand that it's going to cost a little bit more, but we're not talking about pushing it 25 years like the $4 million estimate either. It's just like 6 months.
Jillian, can I respond a bit?
Yes, please.
So, I mean, what you may say, Justine, makes sense. The issue is, though, we already delayed it from last spring.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you know, each time we delay it, the cost of the bleachers goes up. And so, and then as far as full information goes, I don't know what to say about that, because, you know, to some degree, people don't pay that much attention until it's up for a vote or it's an issue of cost. So, you know, the Capital Planning Committee, I thought, did a very good job of laying out the, you know, 5 or 6 projects that are out there and putting a yearly price tag on them, so that people know, you know, a $12 million senior center is going to cost, I forget now, and sorry if I'm slightly off, but something like $250 per taxpayer. The Winter Street Garage for $20 million is going to cost X. And they put out a nice list, so people have some chance to know that. I agree. I'm not sure there's more than 100 people that know it, but we can't wait for the perfect scenario. We, you know, need to move forward with some of this stuff, because if not, we're just paying rental money that we're throwing out the window. So, you know, I think that's some of what factored into the FinCom's thinking. I don't know if other members have something to say.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that a bit as well, that we did discuss the essentially pushing it one out, and it really came down to what Peter was saying, that the escalation costs for construction have just been going up and up and up, and which is very typical. And the way it appears is that this isn't a vote necessarily to do it now or later. It's to do it now or at all, effectively. Because if we can't do it, we can't keep these temporary bleachers. We can't keep going forward with this process we currently have. So it came down to a vote of, does the town want to have a bleacher system with the shout box and everything else included, or not? And so that's why we thought that, you know, financially speaking, at least my interpretation of it, financially speaking, was, while it is expensive and it does add to all the other projects that are going on out there, it's a good thing for the town. And if it's a good thing for the town, then, you know, avoiding the escalation cost was more important than pushing it another meeting.
And Nathaniel, I'll add to that because I agree. We also discussed that in order to not be violating codes as we are now, the cost of renting bleachers that are up to code with a bathroom, with a sink or water, makes it only that much more expensive in the meantime. And even though those costs are unknown, the projections that we use to show, okay, what if we rented for X amount of years versus, you know, funding the project, that wasn't even considering the more expensive bleachers. And so that was added into it too.
I'd like to say it's not necessarily more expensive. It would be required to be more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a choice. We would have to go with the more expensive one.
Right.
And I understand that. I don't know. Can you hear me? My phone went kind of crazy. But again, and I'm not saying that it's not, but again, you said the Capital Planning Committee put together something fantastic. And I'm out of the loop now, and I'm just a resident now, and I know nothing about it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it anywhere. You know, it's not, from what I can tell, it's not on the website. It's not on like a main page of the website. It's not something easy to find. So how does the everyday resident know that there is a plan, or whatever, or that all of this other stuff is going to hit us in, you know, in the spring. I mean, if this passes, and then you have, if the enterprise fund passes for solid waste and recycling, that's going to be an additional thing we're going to have to pay for as residents. If the stormwater enterprise fund ends up passing, that's going to be something additional that we're going to have to pass. And that's not even counting everything else that we already know is coming down the pike. So it's just, how does the everyday resident know any of this?
Before we sort of jump into the transparency issue, I did want to add just one thing to sort of build on what Katie said, was that I think certainly a part of the committee's reasoning was that there is, I think, certainly some urgency in trying to remove ourselves from the current situation where we're not in code, we're not sort of compliant with the code and ADA and whatnot. And you know, that creates sort of a whole host of issues on its own, like, you know, liability and whatever it might be. So just before we got into the transparency point, I wanted to add that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I'm aware of those issues, because again, I was on the board, so I, you know, but we have been able to get through over the last few years. And I'm not saying that we, you know, I'm not saying, and again, everybody will vote on it in October, and we'll find out. But, you know, clearly the select board didn't feel comfortable enough to put it on a ballot, you know, because there are still a lot of issues and a lot of questions surrounding it. So, you know, it's just, obviously I care enough to come back and talk about it, because I just want to make sure that I can continue to afford to live in this town. And it just seems like there is less and less regard for that. And I'm hoping that people do continue to take it into consideration.
And I think that's sort of what it comes down to as well. And I think it's important that the townspeople voice their vote and what they would like to do with the tax base and the money that comes out of their pockets, because it's going to come down to a point where you're going to start choosing services, and if you would like to receive certain services or not. And my understanding, I think, as a couple of members have already said, is that we can't keep going in this less than compliant manner continuously. So the option would be no bleachers at all. There would be no seating at these events. And the school would like to provide that for the bleachers for this experience. And it's sort of a little bit of a snowball. It's like, well, if you have bleachers and there's a certain number of seats, you have to have a bathroom. If you have to have a bathroom, you're going to build a building. So, and I think that comes down to what the townspeople would like to do.
No, I understand that, and I hope, and again, I'll voice this at the school committee also, is that I just hope that they take this into consideration when if they decide to try to move forward with some kind of an override in the spring. So.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to be thoughtful about it and not do it in big chunks, because I think most of the people who use the field would like to also update the rest of the field as well, which I think is something that's on the longer term plans in, like, you know, 5 or 10 or more years to do the rest of the field and some of the other facilities. Doing it piecemeal might help ease the burden. I think if you did the whole facility at once, it'd be obviously very costly. But it's definitely something that we're thinking about as the finance committee, and we're starting to do some future planning as well to try to plan out some of these upcoming potential costs and when they might hit the books in the different years. So trying to project out at least 5 years, I think, is the latest spreadsheet. Is that right, Nathan?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. So it's definitely something we're thinking about. And I would say, in terms of your request of where you could find things like this, the joint board meetings are really great places to look at. So on board docs, you can look, particularly under the select board, they'll always have the joint meetings posted there. And the documents that are there, that will include things like this capital planning committee presentation that people were talking about in the meeting tonight. And the joint boards, we're doing a lot of talking right now about priorities of the town and sort of the upcoming needs. And I think that would be a really great place to look for and to just keep informed of, because I know there's a lot of different town committees and it's overwhelming. Particularly, you're well versed in the town politics, I would say, maybe more so than some of the average residents. But you know, this will also be recorded and posted. So if the other people who aren't as experienced might have questions, that I would say that that's a really good place to start, is these joint board meetings. A lot of these types of documents will be posted there.
Okay, I'll take a look. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments or questions on article, what are we on, 3? Article number 3. All right. I'm not hearing any public comments or questions, so I will move on to article number 4. All right, so article number 4 is transfer from water retained earnings. So you can read the comments from the sponsor to learn more about this. The Finance Committee did recommend this article. So passage of this article would allow the town to purchase capital equipment. So this would maximize the efficiency within the fleet. So this is supporting the operation and maintenance of the water distribution system. So that's vital for our town. Maintaining the fleet, so the fleet of these vehicles and equipment to do that can be costly. So passage of this article would help because it would reduce the need for more vehicles in future years. And it would transfer. We also wanted to try to put in these articles about how much the balance would be in these funds after this proposed transfer, if it does pass as well, to give you an idea of that. So this will help with specific equipment, as the sponsor describes here. So it will add additional capabilities to this truck, which will help maintain the water distribution system. So I will open the floor to any question or comment about article number 4. All right. I am not hearing or seeing any public comments or questions about article number 4. So I will move to article number 5. So article number 5 is similar, but from a different source here. So this is transfer from sewer retained earnings. So this will move this fund for wastewater. So the Finance Committee did recommend this article. So passage of this article would allow the town to explore options for planning, expanding, and improving the wastewater treatment capabilities. So this is important. So expansion and upgrades are important to meet not only current needs and regulations, but also to support growth for the town. So some plant equipment is reaching its end of life, and this transfer will help have a clear plan for this water treatment plant. So this is, we also wanted to give information on what the balance of this is if this passes, and we wanted to note this is estimated. So this is before the yearly DOR, which is Department of Revenue certification. But it should be around this balance, and that's why it is estimated in our comments. So I will open the floor to questions about article number 5. All right, I am not seeing any questions or comments for article number 5. So I will move to article number 6. So this is acquisition of sewer utility easements. So this talks about easements for this. And the Finance Committee did recommend. So let's see, where are our comments? Our comments start here. So this article gives the Select Board authority to acquire easements if they are needed for the sewer pump station, either by gift, purchase, or eminent domain at the addresses as described in this article. Any funding needed to pay for these easements is contained within the current budget. So that will not necessarily need to be raised. I'm doing a little head twisting here, so I can figure out how to rotate this if people would like to see the map. But it's basically along the Assabet River, and in the article, this map outlines the small areas of the easement that would be necessary for this sewer part. So I will open the floor to any questions, comments about article number 6. All right. I'm not seeing any questions or comments about article number 6. So I will move on to article number 7. So this is adoption of the Enterprise Fund for Solid Waste and Recycling Service Program. So the Finance Committee did recommend this article. So you can see our comments here. So this article would establish the option, but not obligation, to create an enterprise fund under the control of the Select Board for supporting the waste and recycling program. Our current waste contract is ending soon, so it's ending in June of 2025. So having this option could allow for additional competitive trash and or recycling program options as addressed in the sponsor comments. So I will open the floor for questions or comments about article number 7. All right. I see Justine, you have your hand raised.
I do. Sorry, Justine St. John, 2 Barreloni Circle. I was just curious. I realized that this is just the adoption of the option for it. But do you know if there is any plan of when that would go into effect? So would we all have to start paying for trash services starting June, if it goes forward, starting July of 25? Or would we still have another year or so of having it included in our taxes?
My understanding is that our current trash cert collection contract expires at the end of this current fiscal year. So some new plan, some new contract will be effective on July 1st of next year. And this would give the Select Board the option to have an enterprise fund be part of that new arrangement. So that's my understanding from our last meeting.
So we'll be able to, because I know right now, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's I don't know, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 of the general operating goes towards trash and recycling. So is the anticipation that none of that money will be available for the trash and recycling program in July of 25, and it will just be the enterprise fund that would be standing it up, supporting it?
I don't want to chime in if I'm not supposed to. So, Madam Chair, do you want me to speak?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. I understand your question, Justine. I do not believe that there's going to be any change come July 1st. We just don't even have time to implement that far. So my expectation would be at some point, though, in FY25, we may transition away from stickers towards this enterprising model. And then but I don't I don't believe it would be July 1st. That's not my expectation. It would be sort of phased. I was actually trying to get onto the website to look up the PowerPoint presentation that I've already gotten from the trash and waste, solid waste and recycling task force that puts it together. Because I was trying to see if they had like an approximate expectation, like a timing expectation. So I'm going to look. Which, by the way, I've already put the draft PowerPoint online already. So if you want to see what's on there, you can. But it's just a PowerPoint, so it may not get into that level of detail. So I'll check, and then maybe I'll look back at the presentation they gave the select board. Again,
I was going to say, this is a different presentation than what they gave to the select board?
It's probably just an abridged version of what they gave the select board, okay. But I don't recall even from the select board if they had pinpointed like a date and time, or like to your question specifically, like when might you start seeing like the bills that might start coming out?
Right.
I think in order to like be like fully vetted, just like we would the water sewer enterprise accounts, there might have to be some analysis done and then a proposal and a rate hearing. So that, as you know, like that takes time, and then it would be sort of seasonal. So as from a budget standpoint, I'm expecting the same ratio that we see now. So the same, which was your question, like currently what we're subsidizing, and then that would probably be transit, like I'm expecting that for FY25. But that, like we're early in the budget cycle, so that's what I have my expectation wise. Maybe the task force will tell me otherwise, and maybe they haven't really gone that far down the road because they're waiting to see if this even passes.
Right.
So let me see what I can look up.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all. Thanks.
Great. All right. Are there any other questions or comments for Article number 7? All right. I'm not seeing any other questions or comments for Article number 7. So I will move on to Article number 8. So this is a home rule petition. So it is a request, it's a special legislation for a liquor license at the Maynard Corner store. So this sort of describes what is being requested. The Finance Committee recommended. So basically, the legislator issues liquor licenses based on the ratio of the population. Passage of this article would allow the select board to ask for an additional license for the sale of alcoholic beverages to be drunk off the premise at the Maynard Corner store located at 49 Walnut Street. So it's a request for an additional liquor license. Are there any public questions or comments about Article number 8? All right. I'm not seeing any hands raised or any other questions. This is the last article that is on the warrant. So we've gone through all the special town meeting warrant articles and our comments and recommendations. Are there any other public questions or comments on the special town meeting or STM as it currently stands?
Madam Chair, can I speak quickly? I know I'm not a member of the public, so if you'd rather me not talk, I won't.
No, I mean, you're welcome to talk. I was just going to see if does it retain to the STM, because I could close the public hearing, or
it does, because it answers.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, so I looked back at the September 4th select board meeting to see the PowerPoint presentation that the Solid Waste and Recycling Task Force gave. Towards the end of the slides, it says, the task force proposal for the enterprise fund is not seeking funding or program model changes at this time. For our proposed program model, we intend to recommend a phased-in approach that initially does not change the general fund versus revenue allocation. Again, that's not clear because maybe not initially, but maybe it shifts over. I'm not sure. And then the recommended timeline, the next slide says, we're requesting in the warrant to create an enterprise fund that will allow time to pursue a new trash and recycling collection contract that will take effect on July 1st, 2025. Our program recommendations will be proposed when they have been fully developed, including a workable economic model. So they don't know yet. That's not
And
clear.
I would say that as you nicely pointed out, this is also outlined in the sponsor comments. So they talk about how it will be phased in potentially, you know, and you know, the select board would be covering it as you nicely explained.
All right.
So that's the sponsor comments.
Thank you.
I don't know how to make it all fit on one page. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or comments about the special town meeting articles? All right. I am not seeing any. So I would make a motion to close the public hearing, but continue on with the normal finance committee meeting at 7:47 p.m. Do I have a second? I think we close to vote. We vote to close the public hearing. Yes. Okay. All right. Do I have a second?
I will second. Oh,
Katie got it.
I'll second the motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. So we have made a motion. We've made a second. Is there any further comments or discussion? All right. I'm not seeing any. So this will be a vote to close the public hearing, but continue on with the finance committee meeting as regular. Katie?
Yes.
Nikhil?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Nathaniel?
Yes.
Nathan?
Yes.
All right. I am also a yes. So we have voted to close the public hearing. So the public hearing is closed. We will move on to our next agenda topic then. So I will pull up this. So our next topic is future planning discussions. So it's very nice that you're here, Greg, because we were gonna talk about the updated future planning. So the spreadsheet that Nathan has been kindly leading the charge on. And I just wanted to touch in and touch point on the progress there. And if you need any additional or updated information from this year, if I could help facilitate that. Greg's here, so we're cutting the step out, I guess.
I think Nathan asked me the right questions. Like he wanted more. I'm sorry, Nathan, I'm speaking for you, but you asked the right questions. Like you wanted to see the account budget. It makes sense. So I already forwarded that to the town accountant saying if I could get that. Oh, and debt. You wanted debt too. So
yes.
But it all should come out. We use this financing accounting software called SoftWrite. So like it kind of looks a little weird the first time you look at it, but so I don't know if I get just like this, digitally thick, if you will, stack of accounts. I don't know if that's what I'll give you because that may not be too helpful to you, but I'll take a look at what he can give me. I usually ask for all that in the near future as I go through the regular budget cycle, but I get it printed out and it's huge. So we'll see. I think I know exactly what you're asking.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And Jill, I must have forgotten that this was coming up or didn't realize. I don't have anything in particular planned to present. I haven't really worked on it in the last month, so I don't have new updates. But the current status is like I need to update it still with FY25's like account specific information because right now it's still projecting from last year. And I need to work on the debt to make sure that that's accounted for correctly because that doesn't grow in the same way as the other accounts can be planned for. And that's something I kind of need to like manually like fill out going forward. And I just haven't really gotten that information yet. I've gotten like some. Yeah. So yeah, the answer is I'm hoping that Greg will be able to send me some some info on the debt and on the current account status, and I'm hoping to work on it this next week.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right. So I think in terms of future planning, I think that's really great. I think it's really helpful, the model that you've built. It's like that sweet spot between overview and also details. So it's much appreciated, the effort that you're taking to generate it.
Actually, I guess one more comment on that. So I'm particularly kind of confused about how Green Meadow debt comes into it. Because like last meeting, this year's budget, it got amended down how much was being spent, which made me sort of rethink about how the future plan was calculating like the debt service of the town. But based on Peter's comments at the beginning of this meeting about the tax impact and it being based on the initial bond of like $15 million or so, and the additional bonds would happen later. I'm wondering if like we should be expecting the debt service ratio to go up in a year or two or three or four whenever additional bonds are taken. And yeah, I guess do we have any sense of what that would look like, Greg?
That's one of the questions I just asked the treasurer collector based on tonight's meeting. I don't know. I mean, either way, we had to adjust what we were expecting for debt just to prepare for this annual town meeting, like we said, like reducing the appropriation. So, um, it's a good question. I mean, like, because as you're kind of noting, debt is so project specific, it doesn't follow trends. So, I'm not sure. I can't speak to it, but any information I get from the treasurer collector's office, I'll send it your way, as well as the capital planning committee. They're looking for the same information, so it kind of lines up. Because like I said, those numbers are very specific. Even when I get them from the treasurer collector's office, I have to be very careful about inputting them like each individual, kind of like you just alluded to, each individual number for each individual project, like because projects are 20 years worth or 15 or 30, so it's a lot. But I believe we can get that for you. I just have to make sure they get it to me and I give it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think that's sort of the meat of our agenda tonight, and we're going to move on to the routine agenda next, unless there's future planning topics. All right. So I do have two past meetings, the meeting minutes of August 26th to approve, and also September 9th. So I'll start with the 26th meeting for us to approve here. So these are the meeting minutes from August 26th. So in this meeting, we were going over the review of the special town meeting articles. This is back when they were not numbered, they had letters, and they were also in a slightly different order, which is why the notes might be a little confusing right now, because we went over it in a different order tonight with numbers. And this is also maybe potentially important for the current notes, Katie. We haven't done any transfers yet this year, so.
Thank you. I was going to note that.
Yeah. Are there any questions, comments, or updates to the meeting minutes for August 26th?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes for August 26th.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion. We got a second. Do we have any further comments or discussion? Nope. All right, I'll take a roll call vote. Nathan?
Yes.
Mikhail?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Nathaniel?
Yes.
I am also a yes. So the meeting minutes from August have been approved. I will bring up the meeting minutes from September 9th next. All right. Oops. Hopefully that's big. I don't know why it's not making itself bigger on my screen. These are the meeting minutes from September 9th. This is when we had the solid waste recycling task force and it's not Justice, it's Justin. Justin from the Department of Public Works. So we reviewed the special town meeting articles once again, and the particular focus of this meeting was talking about the DPW articles. So learning more about, and this is when the articles had numbers, so learning more about Article 7 and the water and sewer transfers.
In Article 7, right at the page break at the top of the next page, the sentence, because the town's contracts for hauling and tipping waster expire. I don't know if that's a typo or is tipping a like a term for waste management or
I can answer that really quick. Tipping is when it gets taken to the receiver of wherever it's being hauled to. So it's I mean it's like a verb. It's like tipping the truck into
gotcha.
So we take it to an incinerator. So it's actually, so like we have a regional like there's a bunch of governments and local governments that have a regional deal facilitated through the state with what's called Wheelabrator is the name of this vendor. That's just the incinerator. So it's a separate contract that we pay to tip it into the incinerator.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So it should say waste instead of waster.
Yeah, I fat fingered that one while I moved the cursor. Thanks for that.
Should that be 10:55 p.m.?
Those were late meetings.
Yeah.
It was really late. All right. Are there any other questions, comments, or potential typos that I might have missed? No? Would we
I
like
think
to
it looks
make a
good. I'll make a motion
motion
to approve the minutes from September 9th.
I'll second.
All right, so we got a motion and a second. Do we have any further comments or discussion? No, all right. So I will take a roll call vote. Nathan?
Yes.
Mikhail?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Nathaniel?
Yes.
I am also a yes. So we have approved the meeting minutes of September 9th. So those are all of the meeting minutes that I have for voting tonight. Some additional topic, that is that. So the next topic is update from chair and members. So I did want to give an update. So there is potentially going to be our next quad board meeting. So this will be a hybrid meeting. So this will be similar as the past quad board meetings between the select board, Capcom, school committee, all the different people we had like last time. The two proposed dates are October 29th or November 12th. And I was wondering if either of those dates are like no-go dates for people on the committee. Basically, I wanted to make sure we would have a potential quorum.
Either of those would be fine for me.
Okay, so
I'm in the same boat.
okay, no, that's sort of where I am too. So, all right. So I'm gonna close that. Save it. So in addition to that, I did also have an update I wanted to let you know about, and I posted this on the board docs. There is the community needs health assessment survey that's still out, and I've seen some signs up around in town center about it too. But this is out, and I just as another way to encourage people to take the survey who might be watching this recording. There's also a link. You can learn more about what this survey is and why it's important, but it has to do with public health funding for certain initiatives, is my understanding, based on the questions that are answered. So just wanted to give that a plug. And what else is in the meeting minutes here? So where is it? So I also wanted to bring up the select board reached out to us. So we got a correspondence from the select board. They would like to put out a policy statement for the upcoming budget. So, and they would like to see if we have any feedback on this. I don't know, Peter, if you've had any experience with them asking such a thing in the past, but it seems pretty standard to me. Usually every year they asked, this is when they're starting to put together the budget for FY26. So it'll be requesting in the departmental budget request to sort of keep it level funded. I mean, I kind of feel like this is sort of what the policy is every year, but I did want to just flag that and see if anyone on the committee had any questions, comments, or recommendations on this. Peter, have they ever done this before? Have they asked you about this?
Asked about this. So this is a draft policy. They're asking for comments?
Yes.
Or, okay. Sorry, I faded for sight. No, I don't believe they have before, but
so
yeah,
they would.
I mean, my feeling would be we're going to have to see how the budget develops. I don't think there's anything wrong with this statement, but as far as FinCom trying to weigh in to say something different than this, it seems way too early that we would have any information to do that. So
I think they're reaching out to us because in the town charter, it says finance committee should be consulted before the board issues the statement.
Oh, all right, good for them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would have anything to add to it.
Okay. So to give you an idea of how it's going to work too for the fiscal year FY26, the operating capital budget request submissions will be due on Friday, November 1st, November 2024, which is like really soon. So, so the capital budget requests, they'll get submitted to the CAPCOM, the Capital Planning Committee. That's sort of expedited now through the ClearGov system, or otherwise it'll like go to the TA's office. And then the other step is operating requests now will also be submitted via ClearGov for any changes. So they'll be like the capital, and then the other bucket will be the operating. And they're all currently going through ClearGov. So, so this is basically the policy statement they would like to issue, and they just wanted to see if we have any feedback. And I mean, I think it was pretty reasonable. I didn't personally as one member have any feedback, but I wanted to bring it up and see if anyone else felt differently. All right, I'm hearing not any feedback. Peter, do you think we need to vote on this to recommend it? I don't really.
No.
I've never seen anything like this. I'll thank them for asking us for our input, and I'll get back to them and say we considered it, and it's early to really make budget calls right now, but we agree with I'll think of a better word, but we agree with the messaging or the theme of the memo.
I think that's good, yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's that. So the only other topic that I had was that I did want to let the board know that the comment period has been extended for an additional 30 days. So this is to the week of October 21st for the unfriendly 40B housing application. So if the finance committee did want to make a public comment as a board, we would be able to do that. Our next meeting is October 14th. So if that's something we do want to make a public comment about, or what do they call it? Make a statement about, we can do that. And I would recommend, if we'd like to do that, we do that at our next meeting on October 14th. And I could also invite Bill Menzer or someone from I don't know if it's the planning board or the housing authority, I forget what, or if he might do both. But he did also send us a bunch of information about what is 40B housing and those sorts of things. We also got information at, I think it was either our last meeting or the meeting before our last meeting, about what kind of statements other towns have made as boards for similar quote unquote unfriendly 40B applications. And I've looked through them in the surrounding towns. None of them had a finance committee meeting, a finance committee make a public statement. It was all generally like the planning or the zoning board, as well as like the select board. That doesn't mean we can't do it. I just did want to state that we don't have to make a comment. It's not required as a board. So I wanted to take people's temperature and see how you feel.
I'm happy to push it to next meeting. I have a bunch of questions, I think, related to it. It might involve some coordination with other, I guess, the town departments. But yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to rule it out just yet.
Because I think we definitely all can make contributions to the public comment as individuals too. So that's also an option.
I would like for us to make a comment as a committee, but I'm not sure if we have like one more meeting between now and the deadline. I'm not sure how we get the information and discussion and we draft an official statement and submit it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also my concern, but I think now we've gotten the 30-day extension, so I don't think we can get another extension.
Yeah, I would say I'm certainly somewhere between I don't think we should rule out comment and we should make a comment because it seems like there's like some pretty big, it's like obviously an important issue, especially with like, do we even have sort of the physical like ability to do it with like the requisite infrastructure and stuff. So I would say I'm sort of between those two positions at the moment.
So I would say if we feel like as a committee we want to make a comment, we could dedicate. So, and I also want to like let you be aware, the 7th is obviously the special town meeting. So there's that meeting. And then the 14th is currently scheduled our next meeting because we meet every second and fourth Monday. So we're going to have meetings 3 weeks in a row too. So like,
sorry, Jillian, and I'm sorry I missed this earlier when you were talking about it. The 14th, I think counts as a state holiday still. And
right, Indigenous people.
Really?
The town clerk has heavily discouraged us meeting on a state holiday, and it particularly comes up around this October holiday because it tends to be not highly observed by others, but I think it is an official state holiday. And the town, I tried to do a meeting, and the town clerk, while not being able to cite why it was illegal, but heavily discouraged it. So,
all right.
So we may need to check that before we proceed with October 14th.
I don't get it off for work, so that didn't even register. So, all right, great. I will ask. If we can't meet on the 14th, then that would be awkward. We could meet on a different day during the week, but that wouldn't be a Monday. I don't know what people's schedules are like. All right, so I'll get clarity about that.
Is it worth people, giving an initial, I'm not even sure what our statement would be. And I'm seeing some stuff on Facebook or whatever that gives me pause, but I'm not sure I'm really want to be, in a statement that's I would assume is opposing the development. But I don't even know if people are thinking, oh yeah, we want to weigh in for it, or we want to weigh in against it, or and I also, I'm not sure it's worth all that much effort. I hate to say it, but I don't think it carries a lot of weight. So I don't know that we should obsess over this or go crazy trying to figure out a statement. If the project qualifies, the state board's going to approve it, no matter what we say. So.
Right. And my opinion as one member is that I'm not sure what additional information we can have that is new or different than what will be in like the planning and the zoning board notes and the select board notes. Like they're gonna mention things like the infrastructure and other items as well. So I'm not sure what I'm trying to think of what we would add that is novel and not just similar.
I don't think it has to be novel, but I think if they're encouraging people as citizens to come forward and like each additional like citizen voicing something, it is meaningful even if they're saying the same thing. And I think it's similarly meaningful if multiple committees are submitting statements.
Okay.
But you know,
I mean, just as one member, I mean, the typical infrastructure impact that is cited by towns is the impact on the school system. And my general feeling is our school system is shrinking and we could in fact use more kids in the Maynard school system. You know, I know there's all water issues, but they're not going to be able to build it until we get the water. So that's, you know, they can't build it without water.
That's not necessarily true, actually. We were told that they could actually, if they put in wells, then they're not tied into our water system, and they could actually just build it starting whenever it gets approved, as long as they aren't impacting our level of water, which I thought was very interesting to learn. That as long as they solve infrastructure issues in and of themselves, then they're good to go.
We still need the sewer capacity.
Right, but if they're not
septic.
Yeah, may I make a public comment as an individual? I'm sorry, I know I'm not a committee member here, but do you mind if I make a quick comment, Julian?
No, I don't mind. You're on the which committee are you on again? Sorry, I know you're on. Is it Capcom?
Yeah, I'm on Capcom, but I'll speak on just behalf as my own person. I know I'm a Capcom member as well, but you know, we talk about all these things on capital planning, so it's obviously important in all these things. But we're kind of in the same boat, it sounds like, as you all. Is like, how do you, as a committee, discuss these topics, which is difficult and tricky, you know, within our own purview. And like we talk about a lot. It's like, you know, how do we solve these issues? And I think Nathaniel is, you know, one of the things we've talked about in this past a little bit is just like, if someone were to go away from infrastructure, it makes it hard for us to make a comment, because it's like, okay, well, if we're talking about the water or the sewer infrastructure, it becomes, you know, unique in the sense that if they're not tapping into our water sewer, it's like, you know, do we have something to say there? Or if they say, well, wait until it's developed, it becomes a tricky situation with the optionality involved with these types of projects. So it is certainly, you know, we see this often in the sense that there's other projects in town permits that come through that we note it or we're privy to just on emails. But again, it's just it's difficult to source through the information from the standpoint of like, how does this really impact us as a committee, if that makes sense, versus individuals where we all have our own opinions, and I'm sure you all do too. So it's kind of like one of those like, how do we think about it all situations? Does that make sense to anyone?
It made sense to me. So thanks for weighing in. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm struggling with. I'm not, as a committee, I'm not exactly sure what we would weigh in on, other than, you know, it would be great for the growth of our community to have more growth. I know there's all the challenges with the infrastructure and the like, but I can kind of see it both ways. And I think, like Peter said, there's a state board, a committee, I forget what the acronym is escaping me, that reviews all of these requests to do the 40B housing and will grant them or not based on well-researched information. So
yeah, and it is important to note that they won't, to my knowledge, again, they won't approve that at 40B if it is to utilize a town in a way the town cannot sustain. under reasonable circumstances. It's not, this entire process is not meant to, you know, be able to force or allow a developer to just show up and be like, hey, you know, you have 1,000 people worth of capacity. We're going to put 80,000 people here. Have fun. It doesn't work like that. Like the state will say absolutely not. But if they solve it on their own, then it becomes an entirely different conversation.
Yep. All right. So I think my action items are to see if we can even have a meeting on the 14th, and I will get back to the committee. Are there any other questions or comments on that topic? All right. My last update is that I did want to share with you that we're having the MMA, which is the Massachusetts Municipal Association. They're going to be hosting a legislative breakfast here in Maynard on October 18th. So I forwarded that information to you if you would like to attend. There's a RSVP link. I think it was in Sanctuary or something, or one of the downtown buildings. So that is my updates. Are there any other updates from other members of the committee on liaison or other topics that you want to touch on tonight?
I did have a couple of questions. Just for the liaison stuff. Do we know if there are recordings available of the Economic Development Committee meetings? I didn't seem to find them on WAVM.
I am not aware they are recorded. I believe that they're only in person.
Okay.
Which is why it was challenging to. I tried to be a liaison to the committee in the past, and it met on. I don't even remember. It was like in the morning when I had to go to work. Yeah. Like it was like midday, so that was challenging. But I haven't actually heard back from Armand yet. So
yeah, me neither.
Maybe I should send an email to Greg and ask if they might be taking a break during the summer session, but it's now the fall. So
well, that was my understanding as well. But I believe there was, I'm like almost completely sure there was a meeting in September, because people were like confirming their attendance, and I was not able to attend since I was at work. So that's why I was asking if there was like a recording I could review. The minutes also were not sent with that initial email. So I can also follow up with Armand myself, but I just thought I would ask you if you were aware if there were recordings or not as well.
I am not aware that they are recorded.
Okay, gotcha. I did want to ask as well, actually, a couple of meetings ago, or maybe the last meeting, you sent out some stuff about the annual finance committee trainings in Sharon, Massachusetts. I was wondering is that like something you guys like go to or?
When I first joined, I think I went the first year I joined, but I have not attended since. It is not a requirement. It is an opportunity. I believe we also have a very small FinCom budget that could potentially pay whatever the entrance fee is.
Right.
I would have to ask for clarification from Greg because I don't remember how much that is.
Okay.
But I think when I went, I didn't have to personally pay for it. So.
Okay.
So if that's of interest, let me know. I think you have to register by a certain date. I don't remember by when, but it says in the email.
Right. I mean, I would say if multiple members of the committee are like interested in going to that, then I would certainly like to attend, just as like a new member, sort of finding my feet and all that. But if it's not something you guys usually do, then I'd be okay with that too.
Okay. I did find while I was cleaning out my filing cabinet, when I first joined, I got a CD-ROM with the finance committee policies and other recommendations on there. So when I first joined, it was like how to be a good FinCom member. So I don't even think I have a CD drive anymore. So I was trying to figure out if I could somehow get the files off of there and send them to the new people or post them on Board Docs. So that's something I'll have to maybe ask Greg about.
That's like a Maynard FinCom thing.
I don't think it was. I don't know if it's a Maynard FinCom thing. It might have been something to do. Did you give me that, Peter? I don't even remember who gave it to me.
Yeah, I think I threw one out when I was cleaning up my office. But it's the Association of Town Finance Committees that put it out under, and I think it's a group under MMA.
Yeah, I feel like there must be a new version too. So I was like, I don't know how useful this, I don't even know, 2017 version or however old it is. But all right. Any other updates? Oh, you have it?
If you just Google Association of Town Finance Committees, it comes up under MMA, and there's a finance committee handbook that they talk about.
That's what.
That is what was on that CD-ROM. I don't know if you just get it. We are members of this, so if it turns, we may have to figure out how to get the, people membership information so they, if it's required to download this.
Yeah.
It looks like you have to pay for it, I think.
Yeah, we should be able to get that for no money. I'll figure it out with Greg. All right. Do any other members have any other updates tonight?
This isn't so much an update as I sent you, Jillian, something a couple weeks ago that you might have forwarded around. And it's some sort of like AI website that it seems like it reads like the transcripts from the WAVM like postings and has like summaries of meetings in town. I was like Googling for something that we talked about at a previous meeting, and then this like summary of a meeting I had just been in came up. And yeah, it was interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously it's AI, so like big caveat that it might not really understand what it's looking at. It might misrepresent things, so it shouldn't be relied on. But I found it to be a pretty accessible way to like look at some like select board meetings and see, oh, what were they talking about on this date? And oh, there's like links to the WAVM like recording. So if, the paragraph seemed like a topic I was interested in, I could go right to that and like listen to the half hour, 40-minute like conversation and see what was actually going on. So yeah, that might be useful for some of us. I don't know. So strange new digital world.
Yes, thank you for remembering about that. I did let Greg know about it, so at least the town offices would know about it. But I forgot to put it on my OneNote as a topic today. So thanks for bringing that up. All right. Any other members have any other topics? No? All right. So our last topic is the future agenda planning. So our next meeting is October 7th. So that is the special town meeting. I will post a quorum notice. Greg let me know that I should put it for half an hour before the meeting starts. So I should say that it'll start at 6:30. The actual meeting starts at 7 p.m. So this will be held at the school. So this is not a remote or hybrid meeting. So I wanted to reach out to see if Katie will be in attendance.
I will.
Okay, so will you be able to take over responsibilities of running from the finance side, from
Sure.
our committee side?
Got it.
Right, because I will not be in attendance. So that is great and much appreciated. So basically at this meeting, they'll probably just point at you and ask you, as in past meetings, to say recommends or not recommends. And then I don't think you have to read the full comment because it'll be in the printed warrant that everyone had access to. So
Sounds
I'm not
good.
aware that there will be any last minute changes to articles on the floor, but it's always a possibility. But there was a organizing meeting today just to talk about it on Zoom. And they were basically just talking about setting up the space and the different rooms and things like that and the babysitting services. They're going to motion potentially to move the water and sewer retained articles as like one thing together. But they think since there's 8 articles, it will be pretty hopefully straightforward meeting like our public hearing was. Okay. And I will get clarity if we're allowed to meet on October 14th or not. If we are not, our next meeting, we usually meet on the 2nd and the 4th. So potentially our next meeting would be on October 28th. So would people be comfortable skipping a meeting after the special town meeting until the 20th? And if we're not allowed to meet on the 14th and just meeting on the 28th instead? So this
That's
would
potentially the day before a joint board meeting. Would it be wise to have had a meeting at least like a week before that in case there's anything that comes up that we should be planning for? Like, I don't want to be
right. So
yeah.
That's what I wanted to. So we could meet on the 21st if the 14th is not allowed.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
If people are open to that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we could cancel the 28th meeting or just not have it if they decide to do the joint meeting on October 29th. Yep. All right. So I will make a note of that. October 21. All right. Okay. So so I would say that at the next meeting, either on the 14th or the 21st, we potentially make a topic about the future planning. Nathan, what do you think? Would that be enough time to do a little playing around with the spreadsheet?
Yeah, definitely. I'll at least I got some information from Capcom that I haven't really taken time to like dig into and interpret. So even if I don't hear from Greg, I should have I have enough to like do a little bit more work on it for that next meeting.
Okay, great. I'm not aware of any like pressing topics besides that. So like future planning, and then the other topic could be the joint board meeting. Are there any other topics or guest speakers that we would like to invite to talk about other things as well? There's a little bit of a lull usually after a town meeting.
And
the town meeting brief.
I would like to add an agenda item of like maybe what can we do more for like public education, just because of like Justine's like question like right at the beginning is like how can like I as like community member who's like not involved in this anymore like keep aware of it, and I feel like that's kind of like part of the mission statement of FinCom. So I'd like to at least have like conversation about what we might be able to do.
Funny enough, I was just thinking the same thing, Nathan. I was wondering if maybe your AI website that you found, if we look at how it summarizes our meetings, because I mean, I know that as a regular member, I'm having trouble keeping up with just the school committee meetings for the new school being built, and it's my literally my field of expertise.
Hmm.
And it's still a lot of time and effort, but you know, a quick summary I can read on certain topics, all of a sudden that sounds doable. So I wonder if maybe looking into how that is, you know, how accurate it is and how it is parsing our meetings, then maybe it might be something that we could push.
Yeah, maybe you know more about how to build AI tools than I do.
I meant push the existing tool, but like I don't even know if we're allowed to do that. But
yeah, like I'm hesitant to give like a full-throated like recommendation to just take it and like put it out there. Like I think it's yeah, I mean, but it is, I mean, I am finding it like really useful as like a source to what happened at the select board meeting and like a refresher on what happened at our own FinCom meeting and have a link to the video for more information. I'd just be a little bit more hesitant about putting like a stamp of approval on something computer generated, you know, and throwing it out there. But at the same time, I like what you're saying.
Okay, I'll put that as a topic. Any other potential topics, or would we like to entertain a motion since we had such a long meeting last time to close the meeting?
I move to adjourn. Is that the word?
I will second the
At
motion to
8:37 p.m.
adjourn at 8:37 p.m.
Great. All right. We've had a motion and we've had a seconded. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? No? All right. So I'll take a roll call vote to adjourn. Nathan?
Yes.
Mikhail?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Daniel?
yes.
I am also a yes. Thank you everyone for your hard work in these past couple weeks to make the STM stuff come together. So we will have our next meeting at the STM. Have a good night.
See you guys all
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye.